Greetings dear aspirants, welcome to today's current affairs session of Civilspedia. Today we'll be discussing about Saraya Tribes, Food Sustainability Index and about Indian Owl Festival and Green Growth Equity Fund under the prelims topic and about the job creation at the farmer's doorstep under our editorial topic of the day. So let's move on to our first topic, Saraya Tribes. So when we study about tribes, I've already given a list of template which contains the keywords. So you need, when you're studying a tribe, you need to know about the keywords such as the states where they reside, their languages, their religion, art, festivals, and if that particular tribe is a particularly vulnerable tribal group. So let's move on to our topic, Saraya Tribes. So Saraya. Sahara means forest in Hindi. So these tribes are also called as forest dwellers. So it is basically a very primitive type located in districts of Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Especially if you see the northern districts of Madhya Pradesh such as Shiopur, Gwalior, Vidisha, etc. And in a district of Rajasthan, and they are a part of these particularly vulnerable tribal groups notified by the government. If you see the languages that they speak Saharia, and they also speak some different Hindi dialects such as Brij, Malvi and Bundelkhandi. And their religion, they majorly follow all the Hindu gods and the goddesses. And they also follow the regular Hindu festivals such as Diwali, Holi, etc. And if you see, they are famous for their mandana designs of painting. And they are fond of tattooing. The entire tribe is fond of tattooing, especially the females, because they think it enhances their beauty. So this is all you need to know about the Saraya tribes. So it was in recent news because of these state assembly elections to the states of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. But this will move on to our next topic, Food Sustainability Index. Regarding this topic, you need to know about India's rank on this particular index and who is releasing this index. Regarding this index, India has been ranked 33rd out of the 67 countries which have been selected in the year 2018. And if you see the components of this particular food sustainability index, it focuses on three major components: food loss and wastage, sustainable agriculture, and about the nutritional challenges. So these three are the paradoxes which has been determined by this Economist Intelligence Unit and the Barilla Center for Food and Nutrition, which jointly releases this food sustainability index. If you see, countries across the world grow a huge amount of food, but not all food is being consumed by the entire humans in that particular country or the entire world. So a lot of food goes into wastage or becomes lost. So and next is the agricultural practices that many of the developing economies follow are not sustainable to the extent. And even if they produce proper food with a high productivity of this agricultural produce, not all the produce is nutritionally rich. So these three are the challenges or the components that has been identified for ranking the countries based on the food sustainability. So if you see India's ranking is slightly above the average in terms of food loss and wastage, because if you see the food at the end point of view where the humans consume, generally India does not waste much of that food, and it is near to average in under this sustainable agriculture. But a lot needs to be done on agriculture, because we are largely monsoon dependent agriculture, and agricultural practices are also not up to the mark. And we also have our own nutritional challenges because a majority of India's poor kids are malnourished. So this is also an issue. So as I told, it is being released by the Economist Intelligence Unit, which is nothing but a research and the analysis wing of the Economist publication group, along with the Barilla Center for Food and Nutrition, and Barilla is an Italian food company. With this, we are moving on to our next topic, Indian Owl Festival. For the first time in India, Indian Owl Festival has been conducted in the city of Pune. So it is a 2-day festival organized by the Ella Foundation. So this festival is being celebrated with the help of exhibition, storytelling, poem telling on the owls. So if you see owls as a whole, the significance of the owls, so these consume the species harmful to the agricultural croplands. Species such as rodents, your rats, or bandicoots are being consumed by the owls. So they help the farmers in conserving or preserving their crops. And these owls has been notified as protected species under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Please keep this in mind. And if you see the threats to the owls, they are subjected to various threats, such as being used for black magic, for street performances, for taxidermy. Taxidermy is a condition where their skin is being used for creating lifelike structures. If you see in the old palaces, you can see animals in their original shape. So only the skin is being used to create an creature or an object out of the particular animal. And they are also used in private aviaries or zoos for commercial purposes. Some parts of India, food, it is also being consumed as a food, and it is also being used in used to prepare folk medicines. So these are some of the threats to the Indian owl. So just know about the significance and the threats of the owl from prelims point of view. With this, we'll move on to our next topic, Green Growth Equity Fund. You need to know what is Green Growth Equity Fund and what is the NIIF framework. Green Growth Equity Fund and NIIF framework. So you can just see here, it is green growth. Green growth is for infrastructure. So it has to be a sustainable infrastructure, hence green growth, and with the help of equity fund. So you get an idea with the help of the topic only. So let's move on to our topic. It is a joint UK-India fund. So basically, it aims for a private sector investment from these corporates in the city of London to invest in the green infrastructure projects in the Indian market. So it is a joint fund which has been announced by UK government and the India government, where both the governments will give a fund 120 million Great Britain pounds, roughly up to 1080 crores of Indian money. So it is working on the governmental principles of developmental aspects, sustainable aspects, and the replicable aspects. So whatever projects that are being developed with the help of this particular fund will be focused on developmental aspects, and they'll also be sustainable. So once they become developmental and sustainable, it should be able to be replicate, so that more investors will fund for this particular green growth equity fund. So it is been created under this National Investment and Infrastructure Fund framework. So there is NIIFL, National Investment and Infrastructure Fund Limited. So it is basically an investor-owned fund manager. So it is being anchored by the government of India, but it is like a private working system. So investor-owned fund manager. So it basically manages the funds. And there are three kinds of funds under this particular NIIF framework, which you need to keep it in mind. They are master fund, fund of funds, and strategic funds. So master funds are those funds which will be utilized for the larger infrastructure projects of the country, which also includes your logistics, road, port connectivity, air connectivity, etc. And strategic fund are those funds for strategic purposes point of view. And fund of funds is funds towards clean or greener energy, etc. So these are the three fund types, and all these three funds have been registered as alternative investment funds under the SEBI. So you also need to study what is an alternative investment fund from prelims point of view. So it is those funds apart from those regular funds such as your stocks, bonds, etc. So it is basically a foreign institutional investor investing towards the infrastructure project of the country. So they are classified as alternative investment funds, and there are also some three categories of alternative investment funds. So please have a study about this. So SEBI is the Security Exchange Board of India, is the organization which actually regulates this alternative investment funds. So there was a question in 2017 regarding this National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. So the question goes like the first statement, it is an organ of Niti Aayog and it has a corpus of 4 lakh crore at the present. So both the statements are wrong. So it is not an organ of Niti Aayog because it has its own company, NIIFL, and it has a corpus of 40,000 crore, not 4 lakh crore. So in these lines, you can also expect a question like, with reference to Green Growth Equity Fund, which of the following statements are correct? So first statement is, it is an investment of NIIFL, fund of funds, and it is a joint India-UK fund. So you need to know NIIFL and fund of funds. So there can be a tweak in the question that master funds or strategic funds. So you need to know what kind of a fund it is, and it is a joint India-UK fund. So both these statements are correct here. So you can expect question on these lines for prelims exam. With this, we'll move on to our editorial topic, job creation at the farmers' doorstep. So here the author, Mr. Feroz Varun Gandhi, who also is a member of parliament for the Sultanpur constituency, has given some suggestions towards diversifying the farmers' income. Right now, farmers' income is very limited, and it is also very based on a very short-term policy. So this needs to be overcome by having a sustainable long-term policy, and which is also which also gives more amount of income to the farmer. So if you see, there are some traditional policy measures since post-India, like your price interventions with the help of MSP, like that, and trade restrictions by giving having some anti-hoarding policies, etc., and providing farm loan waivers when farmers are in financial distress. So this is most of a political issue and also a short-term policy issue. So this needs to be overcome. So this particular author has also criticized the Telangana government's Ritu Bandhu scheme. So in this particular scheme, rupees 8,000 will be given to each farmers towards sourcing their own agricultural inputs. But if you see in Telangana, around 9% of the farmers are large farmers. And if you see the amount that is being distributed by that particular state government, around 43% of the entire amount goes to this 9% of large farmers. So you cannot see that it is a very equitable composition of the fund which is being distributed by the government. So it is largely benefiting the large farmers. So this is not a good scheme which has been criticized by this particular author. So he has asked for the need to create a sustainable long-term rural non-farm employment options. And he has also stressed on the need for incentivizing job creation at the doorstep. So if you see, he has drawn up some statistics from this NABARD's All India Rural Financial Inclusion Survey, and he has given some 5 to 6 statistics. Let's see what are those statistics. He has just jotted down that the average monthly income of the rural households is around rupees 8,059. And if you see, even in the agri households, only 43% of the income comes from the agriculture. Rest is the income coming from other activities, allied activities like livestock feeding, etc. And if you see, the income and also the debt is very high on this agri households rather than the non-agri households, because if you split rural households, you can split into two based on their activity, like the working activity or the occupation. One is agri, the other thing is non-agri. So the income is also high on the agri part, and they also get more debts to do their farming activities. So the debt is also high on the agri part. And if you see the per capita income of households, you can just straight away tell that the per capita income is usually high only on the urban households compared to the rural households, because they're subject to more debts and financial distresses. And if you see, the author has also given that because of this government minimum support price scheme, it targets only 48% of the rural households. So the entire rural household is not covered. So the entire rural household cannot be benefited financially. So way to increase the overall income, which has been suggested by the author, is to only empower the landless laborers and also the marginal farmers, because these are those people who are subjected to higher amount of financial distress leading to their suicide. So this was also discussed in detail in our previous class of recent farmers agitation. So please have a look at that. And income through diversification will help farmers to reinvest in the productivity enhancing agri technologies. So if we are able to diversify the farmers' income apart from the core activity of farming by involving them in activities such as livestock breeding, or for those marginal farmers or landless laborers who end up working as contract laborers in the construction activities, especially in the cities, so their income can be increased. That particular income, whatever they have got, they might have a tendency to reinvest in this agri technologies, the latest agri technologies. So we should help them in increasing their agricultural income. So this is one of the suggestions that has been given by the author. So he has stressed on two major heads. One is the livestock, the other thing is on the migrant laborers. As I told, the landless laborers or those marginal farmers who end up as migrant laborers in the cities. So in terms of livestock, he has proposed this, the present policy is not really working, and is proposed for a new breeding policy, new national breeding policy. So under this policy, he has emphasized for upgrading the best performing indigenous breeds, and he has also emphasized on the need for buffalo breeding in terms of income, commercial need, and the need for poultry breeding in terms of conservation. And he has also stressed for the state's support towards the national breeding policy implementation. And with the help, if the states are really supportive, then there can be a competition climate between the states to help commercialize this artificial insemination technologies, and developing feed technology packages as a part of extension dissemination, because technology is required for the feed that needs to be given for this livestock. And for a shorter point of view, for the present situation, to tackle the present situation, the author has also stressed the need for importing the feed from the foreign nations, but we do not know how far it would be feasible for the government. And as a part of this livestock, he has also stressed for the geographical information system based analysis for the map production systems, so they can produce the maps of the areas which are rich in livestock for further research and commercialization. And he has also stressed for the need for more private investment in this livestock sector. And he has emphasized for the need for animal health care, especially the preventive animal health care. So that the farmers are more beneficial. And the center has to incentivize the states on investing in the livestock, and the states also in turn must sponsor more on researching towards these livestock, and they should also attract the investments in their own states. So under the livestock, these were the points that has been discussed by the author. And under the migrant laborers, he has told that majority of the migrant laborers end up in the construction activity or the construction industry. So all the infrastructure industry, your housing projects such as residential projects, or your port development, sea development, air development projects especially, they are being used in high numbers. And these migrant laborers should be able to access the central and the state government schemes, and also the Anganwadi facilities of those states where they are working, irrespective of the ID cards that they hold. Because if you see, if a migrant laborer coming from northeast and settles in south, it takes some time for him to have his own identity card in that particular area. So so he's not able to access those particular states policies or the facilities. So this has to be overcome by recognizing a pan-India level. And also the construction cess which is being charged by the government has to be again put for the workers' welfare. So it should not be diverted anywhere. So this was also emphasized by the author. And for women especially who are working as migrant laborers in the construction industries, there needs to be a strict anti-harassment laws in the workplaces, and creche facilities needs to be provided for those kids, because now in the construction site, people can see the kids of those migrant laborers working with the like playing with the gravel and sand, which is not good for the health in longer point of view. So this was also emphasized. And for especially the construction industries, some of the suggestions given by the author are: non-compliance penalties must be increased significant to a fraction of the construction cost. If you see the construction industries, majority of the construction industries are not following the proper state law or the center law. So the penalties must be very high to the extent that portion of their construction development cost must be charged. And the welfare board registration must be made mandatory, and the registration card or the ID must be made mandatory for all those migrant laborers who are also happen to be working as contractual laborers in that particular site. So the entire social sector or the social benefits for this particular migrant laborers has to be increased. And linking of registration cards can also be linked to the Jandan account. So this was one point which has been suggested by the author. So whatever pay that they are getting, it will go directly into their Jandan accounts, so that there will be some transparency in the payment system. So these were all the points that has been stressed by the author towards creating a job at the farmer's doorstep. With this, we are winding up our today's topic. Please do like, comment and share the video, and please do subscribe for Shankar IAS Academy channel for latest videos and updates. Stay focused and motivated, friends. Thank you.